So I think, should we start? Good morning, everyone. So nice to see you. Well, welcome to a very special session from the Hungry for Exchange, since it's the last session. Maybe Jonathan, if you wanna share the presentation so we can start. Well, as I said, it's our last session of this dynamic initiative from the FUSILLI project. Over the past 2 years, we have hosted 6 sessions of really interesting discussions where we brought together the global community with 12 European cities that are part of the FUSILLI project to discuss, explore about food transformation in urban food systems. Well, we're really excited about this last session. And our topic, as you can see here, is how local is beautiful and essential. And wanted to showcase more about what has been done in the past 4 years of FUSILLI and for 2 of our cities, also to present a little bit of how their initiatives, in this case, education initiatives, are being catalysts of change. And for those that don't know the FUSILLI project, well, it stands for Fostering Urban Food System Transformation through Innovative Living Labs implementation, and it's a EU-funded project where 12 European cities rethink how to transform urban food systems. And the series, The Hunger for Exchange, has been an initiative to kind of like spark the discussion also with other projects, with other external speakers, which we also have today. Next slide. So our speakers from today, we have 2 speakers from FUSILLI. We have Marion from San Sebastian, Spain. We have Mehmet from Nilufer, Turkey. That will be diving into the role of education and fostering healthy production and consumption habits across our communities. And we'll explore how these local initiatives drive sustainable food practices and inspire change. And then we also have an external speaker, Aylin Topal, is a faculty member from the Political Science and Public Administration in the Middle East Technical University, and will also lead a discussion on the importance of these educational programs, also showing her own research. Next slide. So now Kanisha will present our house rules for today's session.
Yeah, so welcome again, everybody, to our final and last Hungry for Exchange. I'll just go over some house rules to make sure that everything runs smoothly. So just so you know, this webinar will be recorded. It is currently already recorded, so you have any problems with that? Just so you're aware. And we have both a chat and a Q&A tab. If you have any technical questions, you can put in the chat. But if you have any questions or comments related to the content, please put in the Q&A so that we can look through them later for the Q&A session should anything pop up as very interesting. Yes, and feel free to interact with each other in the Q&A and respond with your thoughts. And while the speakers are speaking, please keep your microphones off. But once we go into the Q&A, you're free to just jump in and speak out with any comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Kanisha. Maybe Jonathan, if you can share the presentation again so we can go through today's agenda. Well, a bit of what we can expect today. As I said, we will have 3 presentations, and the structure of the sessions is that each speaker will first share their insights and experiences for about 10 to 12 minutes. And then you will see a little coffee cup, so to say. I don't know if we added it to the presentation this time. Yes, exactly. Which is the meditative minute or the eye opener moment. And during that time, you will have some time to reflect about the presentation. The speakers will present a few open questions in the end, questions they might have, reflections that might have arisen from their research or their projects. And then we will have a mirror board, which will look a little bit like exactly like this actually, where you will be able to click on any of the post-its. We will share a link to the mirror board in the chat. And then we really encourage you to write any thoughts that you might have. So it can really spark our discussion in the end. We will have 15 minutes for discussion and Q&A after each presentation. So this procedure, so to say, will be repeated after each presentation. So we will start with Marion's presentation and an eye-opening moment and Q&A, then with Mehmet's, and then we will end with Aylin's presentation. Perfect. So, oh, well, here, as you, oh, that's not part of it. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think you can stop
just
sharing
go
now. Yeah, strange.
Amazing.
Okay, so we will start with Marion. I think, thank you so much for joining us today. And I think it's better if you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself before starting your presentation.
Thank you for having me. So I'm Marion Villacampa. I'm an agronomist, and I'm working with the innovation department of Eroski. And so I will present one of the actions that we had in the FUSILLI, which is linked to the educational program that we have in Eroski. So I will share my screen. Okay, so I hope that you can see. So I will present the Eroski Foundation Food School, which is an example or a model for community well-being and sustainability through education. I don't know if you heard about Eroski or Eroski groups. So in Eroski, in a nutshell, in the Eroski's group, there is like a network of supermarkets. And there are some other kind of stores, such as the oil stations, travel agency, and stuff like this. Eroski is only present in Spain and mainly based in north of Spain. So if you're not in Spain, maybe you don't know this group. Some data. We have 1,500 stores, more or less, 27,000 employees. The idea is to work really with the local producer. 95% of the product of the suppliers are domestic from Spain. And there is a strong preoccupation for health. In all the own brand product, you can find the Nutri-Score and the Planet Score now that we are implementing. And with some products, gluten-free or without sugar, or trying to taking also care of the health of the consumers. To give a bit of the Spanish context, 30% of the children between 2 and 17 years old are overweight, and 10% are obese. So in this context, to respond a bit to this problem, the Eroski and the foundation of Eroski design an initiative for both family and educational centers. And we call it the Food School. The objective is to educate children in healthy habits and healthy lifestyle habits, and try to create long-term change in behavior, and starting from a young age. So in the Food School, or Escuela de Alimentación in Spanish, we have three main or sub-initiatives: energy to grow, Imagine Food, and Dynamic. So I will present the 3 initiatives. One, Energy to Grow, it's a free educational program for schools. So it's modular. So you have 3 to 6 years old, 8 to 12 years old, etc. You have some activities for the students and for the professors. You have like a guideline for the professors. You can download everything. It's free. You can download it in the web page of the Energy to Grow web page. This program was designed by nutritionals, experts, with some professor, specialists in pedagogy, etc., to try to have a better effect on the student. So we have these guidelines and exercise for professors and students. We also organize gastronomy workshops with the chief. So, or we invite a chief in the school and we organize like a gastronomy workshop or gastronomy session, or we have like in a big Eroski supermarket or hypermarket, we have some like kitchen where we invite the kids and the chief to try to learn to cook and to cook healthy food. We also organize in-store session to make healthy purchases. So we go with the children in the supermarket. We told them to simulate that they are buying stuff, and then we review what they bought, and we try to explain why one option is better than another one, and we try to help them to go for healthy purchases more than not unhealthy. And there are also family games and activities because we want to also include the family in the program. So there is really a part with schools and another part with families. It could be at home because you can find all the games and the activities on the web page and it's free of charge. Last school year, we had 200,000 participants in the whole country, not only in north of Spain. Another line of the School of Alimentation, it's Imagine Food. And Imagine Food, it's a drawing competition to convey the idea that cooking can be fun. And cooking healthy meal is also fun. So, for example, it's a drawing competition. We ask kids to draw healthy meal. And for example, here you have the tortucate from Sofia. And then we ask a chief to elaborate a recipe, take a picture, and give us the Nutri-Score and the composition in terms of proteins, glucides, etc. And with all the selected drawing, we make books of recipe. We are in the 5th edition. And we received from all of Spain more or less 5,000 drawings from kids. So the idea is also here to stimulate the appetite for cooking healthy dishes. And finally, we have the Childhood Obesity Observatory with a dynamic study. And here, the idea is to get a dynamic indicator over time to know more the prevalence of childhood overweight and obesity in the school, because it's in the school that they are doing the measurements, and at autonomous community level. It's only based in Spain, and we have different autonomous communities, so we are working at this level. So it's the professors who are doing the measurements. And the idea is to get a regular measurements on the same population to have a better understanding of the situation and to try to determine the degree of effectiveness of all the initiatives that we are implementing in the school. At the beginning, we wanted to do it 2 times a year. Now we are doing it every 2 years. Because of the logistic. It was too complicated. So from last study, we got results from 1,800 students from 6 to 11 years old from 25 schools. What we can highlight is that there is a high variation between autonomous communities. Boys are 24% overweight and 10% obese, and girls 20% overweight and 7% obese. This is the last data that we have, and we will have an actualization at the end of the month. So, and you will find it on the webpage of the School of of the Food School. So, to link a bit with our topic, how local is beautiful and essential, education as a catalyst for change. So, the Food Schools has a 3 line of action, and all of the 3 lines demonstrates how localized educational initiative can be a powerful catalyst for change, using community-based programs that we throw with in school or with the family, encourage creative engagement, so with Imagine Food competition, and tracking meaningful progress with dynamic study that we are carrying on every 2 years now. And all of this initiative, we are trying to show how local education is both beautiful and essential in driving lasting health transformations. And finally, well, my screen is blocked. And finally, I will stop sharing just to go to my last slide, which are the closing up session. Sorry, huh? And finally, some questions a bit to. Okay. Some question to now that you know all about the food school of the Eroski Foundation. Some question: what are some challenging in changing consumer behavior through educational programs, and how can we overcome them? And knowing that childhood overweight and obesity is a multifactorial issue, how can we articulate educational programs, policy changes, and infrastructures like safe place to exercise and parental involvement? I don't have the answers, but let's talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marion, for the amazing presentation. So we will go to our meditative minute. We will share the link of the mural board in the chat so everyone can enter and add the questions are also below. You will see that in the mirror, you will have all 3 mural boards in one document, but the green one is Marion's one. So if you can add your comments to that one for now, that would be great. Right, I can share the link again here. Great.
Yeah.
So we'll leave you a few minutes to add your questions, your comments. It can be own experiences, recommendations.
Hello, this is Iker from San Sebastian. I would like to make a question to Marion regarding the statistics from obesity in children. Those results come from all of the country or just the north of Spain where you are working more intensively?
It's come from 9 autonomous community, not only north of Spain. I can share with you the study if you want.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it's for information because depending the part of the country, there are different habits to eat, and that's important. And usually is related to the region. That's why I ask you that. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually there is a big variation in the between community, autonomous community, you will see in the study.
Maybe one more minute and then we.
I'm curious about the games that children and their families, parents, play together. Is there any way to explain it in in a few minutes or 1 minute?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't play to it, so I don't know exactly, but the idea it's not only on food, but also trying to exercise. So I don't know exactly how is the game, but the idea is to play a bit on the food, but I don't know how exactly, but also on healthy habit, such as doing sport and things like this. And well, I invite everyone to go to the webpage, but it's in Spanish. Since we are only present in Spain, it's all in Spanish.
It's very impressive. Well done, you all.
Thank you.
So if anyone has any other, can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Great. It was still looking as if, if anyone has any other questions, you can also mute yourself and ask. Otherwise, we can also, I'm gonna take a look at the Miro board. Maybe we can also share it in the. So we have one question here. Second. It's covered by the. Can you read, Jonathan, the question 1? In my mirror, it's kind of like covered.
It's Lina's question. I think, Lina, the challenge is to create lasting changes. We should think in terms of lifelong learning. Maybe Lina, I don't know if you want to add to that or explain.
Sure. Sorry, it was more like a comment or an answer, not a question. So yeah, it was a comment or answer to the question 1.
Okay, perfect.
I think that educational programs, we are very often focusing on a few target groups, but not the whole lifespan of a person. So you get like the offer educational programs, we have an offer for often young people and young adults, but not necessarily the whole population. Speaking from own experience.
Thank you, Lina. We have a few other comments. Children just need to be directed towards the right habits. And then challenges of seeing the impact of our behavior. So if anybody else has any questions for Marion or would like to share their experience with educational program. Otherwise, we can.
I have one for Marion, because like the point that Lena is making, I think is really interesting because you say, right, so there's only a focus on specific groups, and maybe specifically for children, and it's a bit maybe project based. But then, Marion, you did present that you want to actively include parents in these activities, and I was wondering how that's going. Like, do you get very different reactions from children's enthusiasm or reluctance to participate in these versus their parents, or is it kind of all going fine, or do you notice any differences in the approach that you have to take?
Well, actually, mainly we are working with school, and the idea is to encourage the parents to also do some activities with the kids. But when all the guidelines that we have are, we know that the professor or teachers are doing it because they report it. For the parents, we don't know. Even if we send them, we don't know if they really implement the good practices or not, or if we can hope that there is a follow-up on what the children learned during school times or in the gastronomy workshop, or that they have maybe they develop a taste for cooking with workshops, gastronomy workshop sessions, and that maybe at home also they will try to cook. But we don't know at what point they are doing it and how parents are encouraging it. It's really easier to work with the school than with parents, because with school we have the feedback, we have the information, we know, and at home we don't know. So it's easy to produce material, but we don't know then about the implementation of everything.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.
Maybe related to that, I was interested, have you thought about maybe ways of measuring how it can have an impact in the homes, or ideas on how that could be done, or mostly only in schools?
No, well, lack of time and lack of resources. So we focus on school, and we make available games or information for the family.
Perfect. Thank you. So I think it was a really, really nice discussion, and we stop sharing the Miro board and we can continue with our next presentation. Mehmet, maybe you can also introduce yourself and also what initiatives have been implemented in Nilufer.
Hi everyone, I'm the FUSILLI project coordinator and also the health studies coordinator of the Nilufer municipality. And today I would like to mention about the education activities for being the catalyst of the food system transformation. Now I share my screen. I hope you all can see it. And I would like to start with the role of the education for the transformation, because in the first place, it starts with empowering the individuals, empowering the students, and also now, as long as you push them, you can make them move forward, and then you can talk about the effects. But first, you have to move them. You have to act them. And how can we do it with educating them? We can promote awareness and share our knowledge and share the professionals' knowledge. On the other hand, we can empower the consumers with the way they act, with the way they consume. And we can promote public health, especially for the obesity and the mobility and the other kind of things that affect our future and the children's health. And it will affect the reducing of food insecurity. As long as they choose the right, it will improve their security, food security. And they all can be done with the collaboration and multidisciplinary approaches, and the stakeholders will be contributing them. It's the main power that you can have rather than the citizens. And also, you should encourage and disseminate the sustainable practices in the city. And you can also benchmark the others from the other cities. And you can do the R&D on your food system. And you should be cultivating your food culture and traditions to the next generations or the other geographical places in your country. And you can also influence from other policies, and you can also be the influencing point of your advocacy actions. On the other hand, you should be supporting a careers in the food and agricultural sector, because as long as they can have a share in the system rather than being a consumer, it will be much more valuable for all. And while we are doing all of these, which actions do we use? Main idea is sharing your knowledge and passing away your message to the audience. But how? In Nilufer, we use six of these actions. We do workshops and events. We support local food systems, and we do public health campaigns and advocacy campaigns. And we don't have too much regulatory role, but we can do similar kind of things, like auditing them. And the basic part is, and the most major part is educational programs for all ages, age groups, and making the access to healthy food easier. On the other hand, we have community gardens and urban fostering urban culture for implementing and touching the soil. And we also have school partnerships. Let's move on from that actions. And we diversify our education activities in 5 pillars. Children education is another pillar. Farmers education is another. Processing education is especially for the women associations that produce goods. On the other hand, we have waste education especially for the elder and the young people, and the public education, which also covers the online education method too. We use 6 tools and 5 diversified age groups or consumer groups. We start with children's education. We have walking trip in the city gardens, and we have a new curriculum for city garden visits. We had a protocol. I will show you in the next slide. And we are preparing for booklets. They are coming soon. We had a mobile app, and it's also not finished. Also, you can see on the beta version on the periodic meeting, and the book will be in the mobile app too. We have planting, sowing, and trainings with various age groups of children, and we provide seeds, get seeds from vegetables and fruits with children. And we also have a special neighborhood garden for school children. That's where they operate themselves. You can see some examples of the other activities that they do. For instance, on the left bottom, you can see recycling and the other kind of stuff. And at the right side, you can see planting, sowing from kindergarten to the high school level. And also we have city gardens, and they are visited by walking trip from schools. And we have signed a new protocol with the university and try to make it eliminated or cleared from human choices. we want a concrete and stable education program for the visitors in the city gardens. So we have purchased a consultancy and signed a protocol with the university academicians, and it includes the preparation of that small explorer set, including their name tags and magnifying glasses that they use on the parcels. And they will have a mysterious map of garden. It will be like a treasure hunting game in the garden. And on the other end, there will be a preliminary information presentation for the teachers, and they will be informed with a brochure, and the families will be informed with a brochure, and they're all done for the adults and their children. And we had various farmers education. You can see the topics there. As long as they demand, we can provide them programs. Every year we organize various meetings. For instance, there are many kind of education species, but especially composting is the main thing that we do like 3 months in a row. And permaculture is the most basic ones, especially the fig cultivation and care, because they are economically profitable for the producers. They demand for the profitable ones. And the processing education for the, as I mentioned, people that produce with Women Association. We give them hygiene and sanitation, and it's also compulsory for food up, and applied education for the community kitchen. And these are for the women that produce products, but they live in the urban neighborhoods, not in the rural neighborhoods. And we have various waste educations. We had compost education that we use and apply with the street market wastes. We have bokashi education for children and adults. And also we have recycling and waste minimization education for Producer Women Association again. And also you can see in the picture there were school children and elder people. They're all diversified. And we have open to public educations. There are many things in that pillar. For instance, living labs are also included, cooking with local products and with minimum waste methods with the famous chefs. And we also have trainings on neighborhood gardens, and as long as they demand in their social acts, we organize depression awareness and antidepressant plant education also, and we get other kind of topics. On the other hand, sure, we have challenges. For instance, the effectiveness of the trainings are open to discussion, and it's not solved, but we can try to measure the effect somehow. For instance, every year we are distributing seedlings, and in the first year they were all dried or dead, but on the upcoming years it's changed, and they are planting and sowing and growing their vegetables. On the other hand, for instance, it's not possible to make measurement and evaluation, especially on children, but we accepted that it's not mandatory when we talk with the psychologists and the pedagogues. So it's not solved, but we accepted the fact. And other changes, it's not easy to provide trainings on rural neighborhoods because they are far away. But we move everything with us. We bring trainers and their equipments to their doorsteps, and in that matter, there will be if there is a mobile training vehicle, it will be also beneficial for all. And I have open questions for discussion. I think Jonathan will also share in Miro. I would like to discuss the impacts of culture and income on food choices, because it may not be stable in your region. You can think about nationwide. On the other hand, the roles of the parents for the food education at home, because it's the fact that however you give the best education at school, as long as you don't cook healthy food at home, it may not be beneficial. And we can discuss all of these facts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mehmet, for sharing the wide range of educational initiatives you have at Nilufer. So we have the same structure again. We will have one meditative minute. You can use the same link to enter the Miro board. And please write your questions, your comments, and also feel free to unmute yourself and ask Mehmet questions directly.
I have a question. You showed such a big variety of activities, and how is this all organized? Is it all done by the municipality? And how much is the collaboration with the local stakeholders as well?
Sure, I can explain it. The all education activities for school children must be approved with the regional focal point of the ministries and the Ministry of Education. Once you get the Ministry of Education's approval, you can move with the schools. And on the other hand, we have the highest college rate, I mean the private schools, privatizing rates in Nilufer. So they are competing with each other. Their colleges and the schools are in competition. So the food education, especially the raised beds and the other kind of stuff, are already important for all of them. And they knock our door and say, you had a protocol with the ministry level, so how can we do the activities? And we organize the events. And if they don't have any parcels or the raised beds in their schools, we can send them a shuttle. We can take them to the city gardens and show what they want. And also, if they are nearby a mini garden, we can arrange them a new raised bed, and they can do planting, sowing, and harvesting, and all kind of things by themselves.
Okay, thank you.
We have a question from Baha in the chat. Mehmet, how about education and training for public authorities? I know you do that sometimes on demand, but could you be a bit more systematic? Could it be a bit more systematic activity?
I guess it's a long question, so I open up. Yeah. How about education for public authorities? Sure, it's not on a systematic period, but as long as they demand a training, we can provide them. As I know, Mr. Atay was providing this with being an lecturer of these educations, but it should be considered. That's a good question and a good advice for us.
Great. We have a few questions in the no. We have a few questions in our mural board. So we have one that says, without the help of the local government, do you think that it was possible to achieve all these great results?
First of all, I would like to thank for seeing these great results, but we are the local government, so it may not be possible because the environments should be created from one hand, and that's us. For instance, when we need a parcel to grow something, we have two directorates for it. One of is Parks and Recreations, and the second one is Rural Services Directorate, and they can all provide parcels. And no other companies can do that for you in your city. That's the thing that a government should do. So the answer is, without the help of the local government, it's not too easy to achieve these results.
Thank you. We have also one question from Helen. How do you ensure focus on food system education in the public schools? Is it part of an overall curriculum?
No, it's not an official part of a curriculum, but we invite them to our neighborhood gardens, mini gardens, and other activities to carry the children to the events. And we cannot be ensuring any of the activities, but we foster them.
Sorry,
We
you
have
were
one more
muted,
question
Lara,
in
did you
the
say?
yeah.
Cool.
No, sorry.
Cool.
We have one more question in the chat. How easy would it be to promote direct partnerships between school canteens and local producers in order to promote local consumption and, in principle, more nutritious consumption?
Yes, but there's another fact in our country that school canteens are free from schools. I don't want to say schools, but school canteens are operated, are private entities. So they are operated from by the schools themselves and only audited with some of the ministries, let's say. And also local producers are not so cheap or easy to, not so accessible and not so easy to be purchased by kids, because I think local producers cannot reach directly to the children. That's another fact. That's a really good question. because it focuses on families with buying power or had a choice for their food.
Sure, I had a question as well, which is also a question to Marion. I don't know if you're still here, Marion, because I think the big difference between your presentation, Mehmet, and the previous presentation is that in this case it's a government body doing and developing all these educational programs. And in the other case from Eroski, it's a company, right, doing the work. So I was wondering actually, but maybe you can discuss that amongst yourself, like what are major differences in your ability to develop these programs? Like who decides what should be in them, or do you maybe have different kinds of difficulties? And maybe also, Mehmet, for you, I don't know, how is it working as a government body with private organizations or with private sector? And for Marion, how is it working for you with government agencies? I don't know. I was just I had a couple of thoughts about this. Feel free to.
Well, for building the content of the program, it's not Eroski or the foundation of Eroski that is doing it. We are working with experts from different fields. So, well, it's just asking them to build the program, and the idea is only to do it on healthy habits. And if they can somewhere in the program, I don't know, organize something with Eroski, good for Eroski. How we work with, how the foundation work with administration, I don't know. I'm not from the foundation. I'm working with the innovation department, so I don't know exactly how they work with the institutions, but they work with public schools. So at some point they are working with administrations. But I'm sorry, I don't have much information.
Cool, that's okay. And Mehmet, did you have any ideas?
Yeah, I have ideas. And the main point is we are a local government and we put vision documents, and we also do have strategic planning upon the regional status of our municipality and the community, and also we get their demands in every 5 years. And these educations and let me say not having too much sustainable food and making it inaccessible resulted in that transformation. They are getting far away from the healthy food, and the students demanded that. And the municipality was developing years in different dams. And the first year was agriculture, and the other was food, and the other was climate. So it depends on the demands of the people and the needs of the city. So the food education didn't come up with an idea of one people in one day when they wake up. So it was a demand from the community, and it became a project.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have maybe like 1-2 minutes, but
sure. And it will also connect to my my talk in a way. Well, how do we teach the kids, or how do you teach the kids? How do you explain the kids that food has become unhealthy? Food has become poisonous. So and it is the healthy food is not available and it is not accessible. So how do you, is there any point, you know, in that in this education package where children question why the canteens are privatized and why local food is pricey? So I guess difficult questions, but I just wanted to pose it just for us to be there in the back of our minds.
I think that question's for me. And you pointed out a fact rather than a question. And it's the fact that children used to eat carbohydrates and other sugar added and various chemicals in their foods, and they also aware of that. But on the other hand, they must be seeing the good ones. They must have seen in order to have the awareness. Because once their norm was too low from the healthy food, they may not be able to choose it when it became their norm. But as long as we face them with the nature, with the agriculture, with the healthy foods, and the street markets, organic markets, and as long as they discover, as long as we provide them these environments, like mini gardens or the other kind of things, they get the awareness. And that's the main thing that we can do, that we are able to do, and the other parties at home.
Thank you so much. Well, Aylin, as you said, then we go over to your presentation. Thank you so much, Mehmet. And thank you everybody for the nice discussion. Maybe you can introduce yourself and then also your project, and you will give us a little bit more also of a theoretical background to this educational topic. You're muted.
Okay. Have I shared my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, but we can see the teams and not the presentation.
Oh, I turned on the presentation. Huh. Strange. It worked previously. Let me stop sharing once again.
Yeah, sometimes it gives you a few options to share different windows, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I did. Entire screen. Yeah, and share. Hold on. I see what you mean. Can you see the presentation?
Yes. Maybe
Okay.
you can put it on full screen and
the full screen on my screen. Is it not in yours?
No.
And
But I mean, we can see it. Otherwise, no worries. Maybe.
Can I interfere it in Turkish in 30 seconds?
Of course.
Sure.
Hocam aslında o tam ekran görüntüden çıkıp tekrar tam ekranı açtıktan sonra alt tabla tekrar Teams'e gelip share dediğiniz zaman ekranı paylaş dediğiniz zaman oradaki sunum slide versiyonunu paylaşmaya başlıyor. Hani tam ekranı açıp alt tabla geri dönüp öyle ekran paylaşma yapmanız lazım.
Onu yapamadım. Onu biraz önce de yapamadım.
Ha.
So
o zaman böyle ilerleyelim hocam.
You think this way is not doable at all?
It's okay. We can see it. No, I mean, can everyone read it? Otherwise, yeah.
I will try this. How about this?
Great. Now, perfect.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, my name is Aylin Topal. I'm from the Political Science and Public Administration Department at Middle East Technical University in Ankara, Turkey. And my research area covers broadly the issues of development. I work on local and regional and rural development. And currently, I'm leading the Turkish team on a project on sustainable production and consumption. I will explain. I will talk more on the project here. Can you see the next slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. So, well, I am from a different team. You know, this is really a possibility of co-learning. It's been exciting, really, to know the other projects and other teams and what they are doing, and really learning from each other. So it is not only children's learning, but it is also our learning about learning. So in that sense, it is, I mean, I really thank you all, and thank you for the invitation for this dialogue, for this inter-project dialogues in a way, because it is a way to enhance our understanding on the problems that we are faced with. And we are also, in a way, I mean, learning about these different interventions, these different projects in different corners of the world, is actually, you know, connecting those corners of the world and connecting our practices in a way. So in that sense, I'm really, you know, appreciating about this peer learning from my colleagues in Spain, colleagues from Nilufer. So and in our project also, we have different hubs and different corners of the world is coming together for this co-creation of co-creating sustainable food supply chains. And we are also learning about the challenges. We are also learning about the you know, similar problems or same problem manifesting itself in different corners of the world. And at the same time, you know, the coin has two sides. So we are seeing the challenges and problems, but at the same time, we are learning the different possibilities and alternatives of you know, in different localities. So those, you know, living labs you are using, I like that sort of analogy, and I like that word, that it is a living lab, and, you know, opening up that controlled environment, the lab, you know, sort of environment to the real world, and it becomes the real utopia, right? The lab is a controlled environment, and if we open up those labs, then, you know, it becomes the world itself. So it is, you know, the connecting those labs are important in that sense for action and for change. So that's why I really take this opportunity very seriously, and you know, I really appreciate this very much. And what we have in our project, it is a Belmont Forum a project on co-creating sustainable food supply chains. And what we are aiming for is to assess the current food supply structures, and hopefully through the project develop sustainable ones, to hopefully convert the existing supply chains and strengthen more sustainable supply chains, more democratic supply chains, by improving the conditions of the cooperatives, different cooperative business models, and also by including the more democratic governance models into the scene, into the supply chain. So this is the project aims for transdisciplinary, like yours, transdisciplinary research, and probably similar to yours, bringing together different hubs in different regions of the world. I am, as I said, leading the Turkish team. We have a Thailand hub, Taiwan hub, Sweden hub, and Germany hub. And we have this the US base for the communication and dissemination of the project. We have 5 research teams in our project. And in our project, it aims for transformation of the food supply chains, and it aims for assessing the problems of the current state of the supply chain. And the intention is to make interventions, to implement interventions for a better, for a sustainable, for a more democratic and cooperative supply chains, including food councils, including city councils, including municipalities, and cooperative business models into the chain. Perhaps this means bringing those actors into the chain, so that the oligopolistic actors of the supply chains could be counterbalanced by those local agents in the supply chain. And what we are meeting continuously to formulate the common challenges, and also to learn from each other in terms of what we do, what kind of interventions we implement in our cases. So we have been working on the concept of governance in the past 1.5 years by now, and the notion of governance, it has been there. It is not new, but it is gaining a new spin. I believe, because it has been these the self-destructive market forces, and the tragedy of the commons, tragedy of how we use the nature, has been bringing about those various crises of sustainability. And it's been in 2010s, it was the first time a non-economist was awarded a Nobel Prize in economy, Elinor Ostrom, and she the term she was using is governing the commons. The governing the commons is bringing the governance, bringing the public notion into the game again, perhaps counterbalancing the market, markets, sort of this perfect balance of market, right? So this was a challenge to market mechanisms. The Elinor Ostrom's earning award with this framework. So it is about governing from below and sustainability from below, and of the communities, of the local communities, really creating their ecosystem, and supporting creating new institutional formations, or changing existing institutions towards more democratic, towards more sustainable ways, and hopefully eventually creating those real utopias and creating those living labs. And the municipalities, or this new institutional settings, corporations, associations, jumping in this sustainability discussion, the food climate discussion, is also creating a new role for the public, right? Not only the municipalities, but also the other institutions bringing together, and creating hopefully a governing for tomorrow. And here I want to skip to your project. Hence, education of children is very central. And the slides I received beforehand really made me remember Paulo Freire, and the pedagogy of the oppressed, and how the practices you have achieved are actually, sort of giving some hints about what Freire actually talked about, those two different models of education. One is taking the banking education, seeing students like a receiver or container, like this, you put your coins into this the bank, and seeing the person not with the world, but only in the world, in the in its sort of in the void, right? And what the projects my friends have talked about really reminded me of this posing problem or problem posing education that Freire suggests. And here the problem posing is really bringing the local into the at the center, because it is really how we observe the problems, and how we see the problems in our daily lives. So those bullet points are how Freire explained problem posing education, looking at applicable problems and assignments, and impacting the world, and action for liberation and action for sustainability. Sustainability is not his word, I added it here, but I felt he meant it. He wanted us to see the world in reality and in process and in transformation. So I really wanted to have these here, because it is really how local is essential for our problem posing learning. And this is how we do in our projects as well. We have those 5 countries. At the first sight, you may see them very different from each other, but and you may think that they are facing different problems. But those problems, when we begin by learning those problems, actually little by little we are reaching the global processes, big transformations, and we experience our daily life problems. Children experience their daily life problems, and from that awareness we can build a global awareness. That's why I wanted
Aylin, just a small reminder, maybe we have 1 or 2 minutes left.
Okay, perfect. So perhaps that's why I ask about, how do we teach the kids how food have become unhealthy, right? How food have become, and healthy food has become more expensive. So this is not only about choice. There are also impositions. There are also market mechanisms. And how do we? This is one of my slides and questions. How do we teach the kids those big transformations, big challenges that humanity has in front of it? And this is what we have in our partners. These are, I already explained it. And this is also, with regards to the creating pockets of local governance and building networks of small agents. This I have already talked about. And we are learning from each other. I can share all the details if anyone is interested in any of those local interventions of the hubs. And my closing questions are, how can we connect the local problems with big issues and large transformations? How do we bridge our localities together for true peer learning and solidarity networks? And connecting our projects together, because we are working on governance. How do we include children in our local governance? Say children's food councils, say children's city councils, or children's municipalities. So these are the questions I would like to pose for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Aylin, for your present.
Can I have a word, Lara?
Yes, of course.
Thank you very much. Let me start by saying that Lara perhaps has forgotten, but Aylin has been invited to the Hungary for Exchange by the external networking, as you know, for Work Pact 5. Let me just remind you that. We have met them in the EAS conference in summer. Very exciting project, and I haven't personally met Aylin yet, but I have heard about her from our colleagues. I think she has made a deep dive into the real problems of the food transformation. Of course, you can discuss this for a very long time, but I have a concrete question also for Aylin. Since you've been working on a multinational project with fairly widespread market dynamic countries like Sweden and Germany in Europe, Turkey maybe a little bit in between, and Thailand and Taiwan, also very, very different character. So my question is this: in terms of co-designing, not only the educational process, but designing the transformation itself, which agency do you think is coming forward more importantly, leading this kind of transformation? It can be the education part, of course, but we saw in Nilufer that is almost completely top down. It's a public municipality, and they're developing most of the stuff themselves, as Jonathan has commented. We listened to Eroski, although Eroski is not exactly private. Eroski is part of Mondragon cooperative, as you know, and whether this is public or private is, I think, discussable. It's a little in between, but I think you might have completely different examples from Asia. So whether a municipality is actually taking the leading role, or whether it's private entities, or whether it's NGOs or social movements, what is your response to that? What kind of agency is more beneficial and more impactful for this kind of transformation? That would be interesting to see from your project's point of view.
Two agencies are in those 5 cases. 2 agencies are coming forward. One is the cooperatives. It is probably not a coincidence that all 5 cases have found our stakeholders are cooperatives. Ours is consumer cooperatives. Some others are producers cooperatives, and some are the supermarkets, hotels, and restaurants and patisseries. So these are the mediaries, but they are cooperatives. So the agriculture and food is actually one of those sectors where 4 or 5 companies are controlling 70% of the market. So I guess it is almost like a survival strategy of the small agents in this supply chain to get together. So I felt it like really an sort of survival strategy of the agents, and how come this is really becoming a universal strategy. So cooperatives are very important in our 5 cases, different forms, different contextuality, but cooperation. And municipalities are also, in terms of those 5 cases, again, obviously in every project there is this, sort of, you are trying to find some similar cases to compare and contrast. But I frankly think that municipalities are becoming one of the agents, important agents for transformation, because it is also the citizens' livelihood. And while the crisis is growing, it is becoming the survival, resilience strategies, and they are demanding this from the municipalities. We are going to Taiwan. I was in Taiwan last week, and they are demanding similar things that the Turkish citizens are demanding from their municipalities. I don't think they're listening to each other, but it is really, coming to the same idea, facing with the same big, huge problem. The problem is huge, and human rationality finds the right alternative. This is my long answer, sorry.
Thank you, Aylin.
Thank you, Baha. Thank you, Aylin. So we have a few questions, comments in the board. I don't know if anybody else would like to unmute themselves and ask Aylin any direct questions. So I'll go. So to question 2, so how to bridge localities together for true peer learning. We have one comment that says, I think they should be getting in touch with each other somehow. For some reason, learning for solidarity may be the outputs. Now, if the person that did this comment maybe wants to say something about it.
I occupied the board and I wrote them all while listening her.
Right.
And also, it's not a question. These are my answers, by the way, because they need a basic point to be sharing something, and they should be getting in touch. But we don't know how. There must be a reason. For instance, they may be hungry, or they may have health problems, same health problems, or they may be in the same geography. These are my thoughts, and also Aylin told more about it. Thank you, by the way.
So let me see. So the 3 comments were yours, Mehmet, and
Yeah. Oh.
Great. Also, some great. You shared example for a Children's Food Council, which we will share the Jamboards with everyone after the session. And also, if you want any of the materials or have any further questions, you can also always message us. Anybody else has any other questions for Aylin or for any of our speakers?
If there's no one waiting in the line, can I add something?
Yes, please.
For the 3rd question that I shared the link, that I should mention that they are all supported by their families, and their families are also activists, and they know the power of the neighborhood committees. They are also the members of the Citizens Council, and so they let their children go to the Children Council. So that's another point.
Great, thank you. I thought it was really beautiful how we saw 3 very, very different examples from completely different parts of the world that have their local value that is different, but at the same time, as you mentioned also before, Mehmet and Aylin, there are lots of parallels, and I think there's lots of learning possibilities from each other in the activities themselves, but also in the forms of measurement. I also heard that was a big issue for most of the projects, that, okay, how do you measure what these projects are achieving?
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting to see a framework to do that in different localities, as you also presented, Aylin, but at the same time to see how these activities, I mean, are thriving. You can see the results, as you said, maybe also in the small things, Mehmet, with, oh, the seeds weren't growing last year, but are growing this year. So so thank you, all of you. Well, we actually made it in time this time, which is not very often. Thank you so much for keeping that in mind, and for sharing your experiences. It was a really, really inspiring session. Maybe we can share the last slide, because we also, maybe Jonathan, you want to say a little bit something about the final FUSILLI conference we will have. It will be in Nilufer. So also, if you want to comment something, Mehmet, the 19th and 20th of November. So as we said in the beginning, this is also the last Hungry for Exchange, because the project itself is coming to an end. And as a closing, there will be a final conference. And yes,
Yeah,
and then
It's maybe good to
Yes.
say it's 2 days. The first day is a lot of different panel discussions around very different topics. FUSILLI project will share our lessons learned, but there will also be time for exchange. The second day is site visits, and it's a hybrid conference. So at least for the first day, there's also the option to join online for those of you who are interested. The links and the registration links can be found on the FUSILLI website.
Jonathan,
Thank you.
Jonathan, I think the 21st is also. Mehmet, do you want to say anything about that? I think it's 1921, right?
1921, but the 21 is the periodic meeting day, not the final conference. So the audience may be different.
Right. Okay.
And
Great.
we would like to see you all in Nilufer. It's a great chance for us to show our actions and show the real facts. You should be smelling the air in Nilufer. You should be hearing the sound of the city. That's another experience for us while we are in Europe, and it should be another experience for you too. Hope seeing you there. Here.
Thanks.
And please, let me add that Nilufer team has put so much effort into this final conference, and I'd really like to see all of you there in person. And those who cannot, online, of course.
Thank you all. So, thank you everyone. Thank you especially to the speakers. Thank you, Marion. Thank you, Mehmet. Thank you, Aylin. Also, thank you, Steinbeis, for all the technicalities and all the help. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Demir. And thank you to all the participants. It was a great session. And, well, have a great day. See you soon. See you in Nilufer.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Goodbye.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.